What's up, folks? Welcome to the Groundbreaker series. And hopefully, the lag is not happening in reality as I see here. I'll be giving it a second to catch up in case the internet is choking right now. Um, and give it a second here. So, Amirah, thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
Always a pleasure. So, okay, let me just always start out with my normal good old intro here. So, the Groundbreaker series, we're trying to focus on people, places, and actual real estate that is groundbreaking. And Amirah is a groundbreaking individual. I've known Amirah now for going on, I want to say, like at least 10 plus years.
For
Like,
sure.
at least 10 plus years. Amirah was like with me at Trulia building the inside sales org at a moment of complete eruption, probably at the moment of complete right hockey stick business mode. And she also, spent many years there building an amazing inside sales org. She has an amazing background, P&L operational management, retail settings. She worked at Citibank. She had a great run at Nerdwallet and also Opendoor. And now she's about to kick off her life at building her own startup in the real estate tech space. So I am thoroughly thrilled to have you here, Amira.
Glad to be here with you.
Awesome, awesome. And are you hearing me okay? Just to make sure.
Yeah, you sound great to me.
Okay, cool. And if there's folks, we have chat. It's live. So feel free to try us out. If you want to let me know you hear me okay. If I'm lagging horribly, let me know. Hopefully, I'm not. And feel free to ask a question, and we're gonna dig into it. So, Amira, okay, like I'm gonna pretend I don't know you for a bit, okay? And like we don't
Let's
know
do
each
that.
other.
I don't know
So
you
let's
either.
let's pretend I don't know you. I really want to inspire people to join startups, investigate careers, learn about careers in real estate and different paths. So can you tell me about your journey to get to this moment?
Absolutely. I mean, I started off my career early. I'm originally a New Yorker, born and raised, and I worked for Citibank. And, in a real corporate environment, I was in their management associate program. I worked with their financial centers. I also helped on the ops side around mergers and acquisitions when we purchased EAB. So a traditional job starting off my career. But I got a lot of exposure to, how a big organization works. And then I moved out to California. And when I did that, I worked for Citibank here and did another merger acquisition with San Francisco, California Federal Bank. And then I ran into the branch systems and I ran a branch. And you can't not be in the Bay Area and not get the tech bug or know someone who's in there, or I had clients who did. And so that led me to say, okay, what is this whole world like? And that's how I met and joined Trulia through a HR person that was working at the time who knew about my background and knew about like some of the fundamentals you learn, and told me about Trulia and building their sales organization, and essentially taking a lot of the basics of what I did with financial center management, which is building teams, acquiring customers, operational excellence and scale, and bringing it to a tech startup who had none of that. So, or very little, not the same when you go from a big to small. So
Oh,
that was
100%.
it was great. So went to Trulia, got the opportunity to meet you and so many other folks. And I kind of define it in two stages. There's pre-IPO and post, right? Like pre-IPO, I was there, we're building a sales team, we're figuring out segmentation, we're hiring crazy amounts of individuals, we're growing our SF office and our Denver office. And that time, right, we didn't have all of the analytics and a huge recruiting team, right? And so it required an entrepreneurial spirit, which spoke to who I was and what I like to do, which was be creative. And you kind of remember those times as well, where it's just
100%.
crazy growth, and you're just trying to solve the problem that's there today. As I believe, you like solve today so you can have it tomorrow. It's
Dude,
huge,
amen.
huge, right?
I was just on a call the other day where somebody was talking about hiring in a sales org at a growth stage, and I was like, hire what you need. Don't
Yes,
hire what you want. Like
yeah.
hire what you need today. Yeah,
Exactly. And so, I was doing some consulting and I try to explain that to people. They're like, I want this person that has these skills. It's like, no, what you need right now is maybe someone who can help you, scale to the customers that are in front of you today. And so we
right.
did that, right? And I think that's part of the story of the reason why it was so successful. because we were able to identify the right people and the right team to make it happen. And then I think about post IPO, right? Like once IPO, we had this grand major event, and then all the challenges that make it a squeaky wheel, right? You don't have all the infrastructure, some things are broken. You know, the VP at our time that we knew, Heather, was like, you know what? Heather Fernandez was like, we need to, I was like, we need to fix this. She's like, go ahead and fix it. And I'm like, whoa, okay, sure. So I
Very
hopped on it.
empowering, Heather. Thank you.
Yes, very empowering. Heather said, go fix it. And I ran the ops side of the house and helped think about what do we need to structurally scale, and took some of the Citibank stuff that I learned on like how do you scale, how to use tools, technology, systems. But being in tech was amazing because, you know, you could do whatever you want to do. You can test, you can iterate, and whatever works is what you do. And that's what I had the ability to do. And so
Yep.
I think about the amazing parts of my career, and that is definitely one of the highlights is jumping into the madness and the foray and creating beauty in the
I,
making.
I have a question for you. You know, which is about the times that we're in, right? Like you joined Trulia, and Trulia was a very obviously like forthcoming company, right? Like you know, very forward thinking company. You know, our head of sales, VP of sales, was Heather. You know, who came from the marketing department, you know, up that stream, to then become the VP of sales for the, you know, for the sales org. We had our CMO, Carol, you know, Wampler. You know, like we had a lot of female leadership at Trulia at a time prior to the Me Too movement and prior to a lot of these things that we see today. As you reflect back on your career, do you see anything where like these are the moments that really changed your career path as a woman, and like the breaks that you maybe got, or the opportunities that were able to develop in front of you?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that, you know, it was a great time, but part of the magic of what happened, I think, at Trulia for me in my career was that, you know, people were looking at what you could bring in, the talent that you can bring today and to help us move forward, and took the risk. And you don't necessarily get that in all organizations and all
Hmm.
companies. And so that was parts of the plate, parts where I saw myself as a diverse woman coming to this table who had the shots to be able to do it. And because I could articulate what I thought we needed, and people were like, let's give it a shot, people were willing to do that. And I think that's part of some of the magic of giving people the opportunity and being in those environments where you can actually excel your growth.
100%. Yeah, they really made it possible where if you saw a problem and you knew how to fix it, they let you go do it. They let you go fix
Yeah.
it. I mean,
And
that was
it's scary, right? Someone says, go fix it. You're like, I don't know how to fix phone systems, but if you figure it out, right? You're around
right.
smart people, you stay curious, you stay hungry, and you do it, and you just make it happen.
And the amount of smart people that we worked with, it was so much fun. It was a great time. Now let's talk a little bit about business. You know, more business, I should say, right? Like, so you've been in the real estate side now. You know, Trulia, NerdWallet wasn't necessarily real estate, but it financial, consumer
Yeah.
financial, and
Yep.
then Opendoor. And
Yep.
now I think you're about to embark on a real estate startup. And
Yes.
so, like, tell me why. How do you
Yeah.
know? Like, I mean, I know why, right?
Yeah.
I that's what I'm doing. That's what I do. But I want you to tell others, like, why real estate? Why are you doing the startup in real estate?
Well, you know, I think about it, you know, when I look at my career, right? When I reflect back, right? Citibank was about financial information, you know, consumers, right? Then I went specifically to Trulia, would narrow down on real estate. Then I actually went to Nerwell, would talk about financial literacy again, right? And financial landscape, and then open door back to real estate. And the roles that I've always played was, how do we, you know, build a team? How do we acquire customers? How do we get customers to stop falling out of the funnel? How do we be creative around it? And it was all about talking to customers. And one of the things that I learned was that, you know, today customers have so much choice, but they don't even know how much choice they even have. And so that's like hugely interesting and exciting to me. And then 2020 hit, right? And I'm like, all right, Amirah, you need to go big or go home, right? This is your year, right? What are you even really wanting to do? What's calling for you? And what I learned was that, you know, 2020 hit. I was like, okay, I'm going to try something different. I don't know what it is, but I know there's something there. And then COVID hit. And then our world changed, right? The conversation around where do you live, where do you work changed. And what I saw talking to people that I mentored, talking to my, people that ultimately became my co-founder, was that, you know, people home is such a huge importance to every single person that's around the world, right? And how we think about home
Right.
ownership, how do we think about where do we live, how do we live, and it's emotional, it's financial, there's a lot of different factors to it. But when I was thinking that we solved all these problems, talking to people, I'm like, well, what do you mean you can't find a house? We did that. Go to Trulia, Trulia/Zillow, go there, right? What do you mean you still don't know about mortgages? Go to Nerdwallet, right? Like I was like pointing people to places where I felt like I made an impact in the community. I
Right.
saw there was this huge still opportunity to talk to specifically millennials and Gen Z and how they think about home ownership. How do we create transparency? um, Real estate, there's an opportunity to like change and talk to customers in a very groundbreaking way to do it. And so that's what kind of led me into this direction. um, I decided like, all right, I want to solve the really hard problem of how do you talk to a generation that's digitally native, right?
Right.
You can press a button, smart home, order a car, order, food, everything digital. How do you do that through digital? Through also this focus around networks and social, like we are social creatures. And how do you give interesting information? Because let's be honest, real estate finance has never been like what I called a exciting, sexy topic, right? Like it's medicine, right? It's
Right.
it's
Right.
hard for people. So how do you do this? And so that's what led me to building the Home Dispatch, which is a consumer first product and initiative focused around bringing financial information, specifically around home buying, to consumers. And so that's
Yeah.
what led me here.
Yeah, and so the name, so everybody knows it's the Home Dispatch. And look, like any startup, you're free to, you could change the name at any given time,
I'm already
right?
on my third or fourth, but right
Yeah,
now, so
yeah,
the Home
yeah,
Dispatch is the one that's sticking right now.
yeah, yeah. And I really like it because you're really focused on also, I think, what's important for today's consumer, which is transparency
Exactly.
and relationship, right? Like, we all know, like real estate agents watching this know that relationship is number one. Like they know this, it's inherent, right?
Mhm.
And man, there's so much crazy stuff happening in real estate. We have Zillow turning into a brokerage. Not crazy, it's actually very logical. But Zillow turning into a brokerage. We have Opendoor brokerage. We have, you name it, going into the deeper into the relationship. People say deeper into the transaction, but part of the transaction is you get a relationship. And this is a really powerful tool that I think you're going to build and platform. So, question for you: how,
Yeah.
how do you think real estate as an industry can address the wealth gap in the U.S.?
It's
Especially technology in real estate too, right?
yeah. So I think about it a couple of ways, right? You know, let's talk about home buying in the US, right? There's like a few key important things you got to remember about home buying. Everybody knows this, right? Three things are kind of how I kind of bucket it, right? One, you've got like home buying represents safety in the US, right? Maslow hierarchy needs, physiological needs first, right? I need shelter, safety second. And so home buying is an extreme attach. That's why it's very emotional. Where do I live? Where do I stay? Right? It's like that's step one. You got to acknowledge that. Number two, there is, the wealth gap is around strategy. Home buying is a strategy tool for most people, right? There's the acquisition of it, right? Real estate, you capture it, hopefully it rises. That's called appreciation. There's a ton of people that have actually had the opportunity to experience that. There's a huge amount of people that have not experienced that.
Right.
It also brings the biggest, the other one, you got equity, right? Now you can actually fund a child's college education. You can start a business. You can give a gift to someone to buy their own home. The wealth kind of keeps moving. It's a source of retirement for many individuals. And then ultimately, like you can inherit it for the next generation. So that to me, like that strategy is not necessarily clear and transparent to many others. And for others, there have been barriers to that.
Mm,
And so like, there's this, like I said, there's safety, there's wealth, and the third to me is community.
mm,
Um, a home represents the place where I choose to have a sense of connection in that neighborhood, where I go eat, where I go have my child go to school, When there's an illness, where there's a fire happening, I'm in the Bay Area, right? The community somehow gets together, and who you choose to be with and live with matters. And so there's like these three big buckets when you think about home buying, that it's what it represents here in the US. And if you don't solve um, that gap of being able to give everyone deserves that opportunity,
Hmm.
then that's where the disparity happens. And there's no need, everyone knows the history, or they should, if they don't know, they
Right.
should know the history of like how we got here.
Right.
But I feel like it's my part of the change that you have to be is creating transparency around it, because it's shocking to me sometimes when I'm talking to consumers who still don't know about the wealth strategies that others, generational, other, other cultures, other backgrounds have figured out already. And
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep. Yeah. On that note, I will plug in 2 weeks, I believe. 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. November 4th, I'll be doing a talk on race and real estate with three great leaders about this, about how do we change the trajectory of real estate, and how does real estate impact like race and wealth building, and you know really getting to a place where we change systemic racism and how it impacts incomes and families and growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to have some fun here for a second and talk a little bit about Trulia, Opendoor, and Nerdwallet in those
Yeah.
three companies. Like, okay, clearly I know your answer to this. The best company you worked for?
I mean, every part of my life, there are great moments. I can tell you about all great things about all of them. I can speak to, like, I gotta say, right? Like, if I didn't have the Citibank Foundation, I could
Of
never have been as
course,
successful as I was
of
at Trulia,
course,
right?
of course.
Me, Trulia, like, showed me what tech could do, and the not just technology, but being in that culture of environment of change and test, right? Like, that
Hmm.
enabled me to figure out and just really be more of who I want to be.
Hmm.
uh, I got the opportunity though at NerdWallet, where I ran a sales and partnerships team. So it wasn't just sales. I did the BD side. I was thinking about working with product leaders to help them think about, how do you bring this to market? How should we be creative? So like that was super exciting. And then I'm of course Opendoor. I mean, we're talking about iBuyer, right? Like we're totally
Right.
transforming the way people think about real estate. And to the reverse, right? Like how do we keep people in this funnel? How do we show them a new path? So, they're every one of them was great. But of course, I think the greatest and scariest one that I'm doing is building the home
Oh
dispatch. Like
heck yeah.
that
Oh
too. It's like I take
heck
all
yeah.
this stuff and make it my own.
That's great. So you also sort of answered my other question, which was what was your biggest takeaway from those organizations, and sort of run it down. Trulia taught you how to iterate and scale, and how to really, and also how to build culture is what I sort of got from that a little bit of the culture part.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me about the importance of culture
Hmm.
and how, um, I think when people join startups, they don't just join because of the paycheck and the job.
Correct.
They
You
join
definitely don't, by the
because
way.
you usually don't. It's because of the mission, right? You want
Right.
to be a part of this big, massive movement, and you actually can control it, right? It's kind of like what, people think about their communities or government, right? And you can do that and get paid to do it. So that's super awesome. And so it teaches you like the importance of setting a good culture. I mean, we had amazing people there, hiring only the smart people and the people that really, really left their egos at the door. That was super helpful. And it taught me just so much.
Yeah, and then NerdWallet really, I think, gave you some more depth in terms of experience with the partnerships on the BD side and
Yeah, and also products, right? Like I
product.
think,
Yeah.
one of the things that, people always ask, like, why'd you go from sales to sales ops? It's like, because it was interesting and it was curious for me to do that. And when I went to be at NerdWallet, I got to interact with the product team and the GMs of the business, not as a strategic thought partner. And that was amazing for me. It's like, okay, you're building this, but you want me to execute this, and I get to play a part of that storyline. So let's collaborate and let's do it together. And I think
Yeah.
that was amazing for me to be a part of, because I was able to then see what is it like, which also helped me now, right? Like I can like
Yep.
say, okay, what's key important when you're building an amazing product? How do you think about it? Where does UX and design play? They're just not handing me things to facilitate the transaction, but we're actually strategically thinking about building that business.
Yep. And you did all of that while being a mom.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
This
like
is not the last point. It's probably the
yeah,
biggest
I
point.
mean, I'm very lucky. I have a supportive husband who has been a rock for me to like let me, he doesn't clip my wings as I call it. He's like, fly, mom's happy, everyone's happy. And I think that, the children get to see their mom be excited about work. I think people think about work as like this whole hum thing that they have to do. And I want to be able to kind of be that person that enjoys what they do and bring excitement while also earning income. And so I hope, if anything, I try not to miss too many things, but stay committed to that and let me
Yeah.
see me happy.
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, seriously, I had three, all four of my kids during my startup years. It's still like my last one was 5 years ago, but yeah, like it was a journey. It's work, it's
Yeah,
work,
I mean,
but it
but
can be
that's
done.
where the culture matters, right?
Culture
That's
matters
why,
tremendously.
if you're a leader, I'm thinking about culture of a business now, and the culture where we are in COVID. Like, it's okay if the kid walks in the room, even though I locked my door. Like, it's okay if things happen, right? You've got to recognize that you're dealing with humans. These are individuals, they have lives. And most of the time, if people are bought into the vision where you're going, they absolutely will be working beyond the 9 to 5 and be thinking about how to help you move your vision forward.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I want to ask you a question, and then we'll go to the wrap up. You've interviewed, as have I, hundreds of salespeople who want to work at startups, right?
Yes.
Hundreds of salespeople that want to work at startups. Tell those watching who maybe are thinking about going into startup sales or working at a startup in general, what should they do to
Yeah.
break through and
I
get that
think
role?
I think part of, if you want to jump into the narrative, is you got to be able to talk about the things that you did and be able to help show the core values of who you are. So for example, like, I've made some amazing hires that I'm really super proud of. People are like, they like, I don't understand this relatable skill. And I think it's because you've got to dig. I felt it, right? Going from banking to tech, you got to be able to explain to someone what you did that was super out of the box that makes you you. So I'll give my example of, I love to tell people like, I was able to like figure out how to get the fire department in a bank because I thought that that was a great way to like have kids in the office. I showed my creativity through things that I did in the past to help translate who I was as an individual. And so I think it's less about, your grades all the time. Those things get you halfway in the door. The other part is, who are you? What values do you have? What words of resilience, great communicator, talk about those things. That helps you get to nail in the door. And then you've also got to, the second big thing is you got to show that you can live and work in this environment. And so do your homework and understand what is the environment or culture is like, because
Mm-hmm.
the hardest thing as a hiring manager is you want to take a risk, but you're like, I don't want this person to like not like it when they get here. So do they really understand when I say that the comp plan is going to change every month? Like, do they really understand what that means? And are they okay with that? Or, so asking the questions that, you may be afraid of knowing the answers to the hiring manager, and talking to others and hearing about the crazy things that they lived. So
Yeah,
those are
100%,
like,
100%, 100%. And so cool, Amira. Great feedback, and I hope folks who are watching, got something out of this. I think it was a great chat. As we wrap up here, how can people who are watching help out? Is there anything you need?
yeah, three things we need. One, if you haven't already checked it out, go to thehomedispatch.com, check out our website. But we've got a huge community on Instagram, super excited. In the last couple of months, we got over 800 people that are following us each week and growing. So join that group. That's number one. Number two, particularly folks in the real estate space, like part of what our mission is to create transparency. And so there's some interesting products or things that you're bringing to the market. I love to be able, I do this actually, I interview every week the folks in the space to be able to show them to consumers in a way that feels authentic and transparent. So like that's a huge number two. And three, I love to network with creative problem solvers who are trying to tackle real estate with me. So those are my three wishes.
Well, there you go. Well, I just posted it for you in the chat so everybody can see it. So please follow the Home Dispatch and tell a friend. Definitely join their Instagram community. And if you have some cool products or partnership ideas, reach out to Amirah. Amirah, the email is Amirah at thehomedispatch.com, I believe, right?
That's right. Amirah at
And,
thehomedispatch.com.
network, man. Yeah, like it's a big thing. You know, connect with Amirah. Amirah, is a total pleasure. I love you. It's so great to talk to you all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you and all the stuff you're doing. Like you're an amazing sales and growth leader, and I think you're gonna kick ass at this, at whatever you do. So congrats. And I'm gonna end here with just a quick promotion of the upcoming shows, if you don't mind for a second.
Go for it.
So sorry about that. Here it is. So this is what we have. This is what we have coming up. Actually, next week we have Open Door. So Open Door is going to be here. We're going to dig into their brokerage business. Really exciting. I'm excited for that talk. The week after, we're going to talk to EarnNest. This is a startup that's changing the way money moves in the transaction. Actually, maybe a great partner for you to talk to. The week after that, I think it's going to be race. That's race in real estate. So we're going to a frank conversation about the industry, and then we're going to do a panel which you're going to want to watch with about startup journeys. And so the startup journeys, this is going to involve a lot of our friends, like possibly Connor and some other great folks in the space who basically came into an inside sales org at a very junior role, but have built amazing careers out of this startup space, and they took a chance in there, and I really want to highlight sort of how you do that. Like, how do you join a startup and how do you turn it into a career? Tim Kennedy, I hope we'll get on that too, who's also, started inside sales and he's now a lead engineer at a startup, right? Like, I think that's a great story, and it talks a little bit about how Trulia helped in that too. So anyway, thank you, Amirah, so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks for the comments. Hi, Jody. Hi, Jason. Jason Tanner says hi. Tim Correa says hi.
Oh my
Connor says
gosh.
hi. They're all on.
Oh my gosh.
So good work. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. See you soon.